Imagine a portrait that literally transforms as you move, shifting between a majestic human face and a chaotic collection of plants, animals, or even books. This dual contemplation was the trademark of Giuseppe Arcimboldo, a rare painter whose composite heads challenged the human brain to see unity within diversity centuries before modern psychology. Yet he was far more than a master of visual puns. He was a brilliant engineer and inventor of musical arrangements at the Imperial Habsburg court. Drawing on the Pythagorean tradition that linked musical scales to the mathematical harmony of the universe, he sought to create a world where the senses hearing, sight, and touch existed in perfect metaphysical balance. In this episode, we decode the intellectual rebuses of a man who bridged the gap between the scientific sketches of Leonardo da Vinci and the surrealist wonders of the 20th century. Join us as we explore the world of Arcimboldo, where painting becomes magic and every vegetable is a hidden message.
And welcome. We are stepping into the 16th century today, but honestly, this subject feels so incredibly modern.
Yeah, it really does.
It's like we're looking at an artist who essentially treated painting like a piece of software code.
Right, something you have to actively hack to understand.
Exactly. And for you listening, our mission today is to kind of rescue Giuseppe Arcimboldo from the refrigerator magnet.
Yes, the novelty greeting card aisle.
Right. We see these fruit faces and we just think, oh, what a whimsical doodle.
But when you dig into the history, you realize we're dealing with a highly sophisticated intellectual engineer.
Someone who was using these visual tricks to embed deep philosophical and political codes right under the nose of the Holy Roman Emperor.
So let's start with the mechanism itself. We talk about these fruit faces, but there's a specific category of his work called the reversible portrait.
Yeah, because it's not just that the picture looks weird. It demands physical interaction from the viewer to even work.
Right. Take the vegetable gardener, for example.
If you hang this painting one way, let's say right side up, it is a completely boring, rustic, still life. You see a black bowl filled with onions, turnips, and greens.
Painted with total realism, too. You could see the dirt on the roots.
But the moment you rotate that canvas 180 degrees...
the bowl becomes a hat.
Right. The onion becomes a chubby cheek, the turnips become eyes, and suddenly you are staring at a smiling, slightly goofy man.
And here's the crucial part. Once you see the man, it is very difficult to see the bowl of vegetables again without mentally forcing yourself to switch back.
This is what the scholars call dual contemplation or double contemplation.
It forces your brain to make a binary choice.
Yeah.
You literally cannot perceive the bowl and the face at the exact same time.
Arcimboldo was effectively exploiting the Gestalt effect centuries before psychologists even defined the difference between seeing the whole and seeing the parts.
It's a cognitive switch.
And there is a fascinating tension here between visual and tactile experience. The vegetables look tactile. You can imagine the rough skin of the onion.
But the face?
The face is a ghost. It's purely visual. If you get too close to the canvas, the face just dissolves back into an onion.
So he's playing with the reliability of our own senses. And there's a specific term that keeps coming up in the sources for this. Grilli.
Yes.
It sounds like a sandwich, but I gather it's something much more philosophical.
Grilli literally translates to crickets or whims in Italian, but in this courtly context, it meant a riddle whose solution is known.
Okay.
There's a very poetic definition from the time that describes a grillo as shackles on one's mind.
Shackles on one's mind. That implies you're trapped by the image until you finally figure it out.
Precisely. These paintings were intellectual rebuses. They weren't meant for the common peasant. They were IQ tests for the Habsburg intelligentsia.
Like the cook, right?
Yes, a plate of roasted meats chicken, that turns into a grotesque face when you rotate it.
And if you looked at that and didn't understand the visual trick or the Latin pun,
you were exposing yourself as being out of the loop. You failed the test.
It's interesting you mentioned the cook being a plate of meat initially, because there is a theory that these reversible paintings might actually be the origins of the still life genre.
It's a very strong argument. Before Arcimboldo, painting just a bowl of fruit wasn't considered high art. It was a bit pedestrian.
As background decoration.
Exactly. But by hiding a portrait inside the fruit, he gave the still life a soul, or at least a reason to exist. He tricked the art world into accepting inanimate objects as worthy subjects.
Wow. Now we've established he was a master painter, but his job title at court was much broader. He's described as an inventor of musical arrangements.
This is where we get into the mind of the engineer.
Because that sounds wild to me. How does a painter invent music?
Well, Arcimboldo was operating under the Pythagorean tradition. We all know Pythagoras for geometry, but his followers believe the entire universe was held together by mathematical harmony.
Ratios that could be heard in music.
Right, and Arcimboldo wanted to prove that these exact same ratios applied to sight.
So he was trying to create a system where you could essentially see sound.
In a way, yes. He developed a theoretical method for translating musical notes into colors.
How does that even work?
He used a gradient technique. For example, he believed that adding white to a pigment,
To lighten it up.
right, lightening a color was mathematically equivalent to raising the pitch of a note in a musical scale.
Oh, that is fascinating.
He called this system acting as a perspective lente, a perspective lute.
Like the stringed instrument.
Exactly. It was a system of proportion, predating modern theories of color harmony and synesthesia by centuries.
So for him, it wasn't a neurological condition where you hear colors. It was a calculated design philosophy.
It was metaphysical. He was trying to create a utopia of the senses.
Meaning.
Meaning, when you looked at his art, you weren't just seeing red or blue. You were perceiving a mathematical truth that vibrated at the same frequency as a C major chord. He wanted hearing, sight, and touch to exist in perfect balance.
That ambition makes a lot more sense when you look at where he was working. We aren't in Florence or Rome.
No, we're in the Holy Roman Empire, Vienna and Prague, under emperors Maximilian II and Rudolf II.
And this is the late 16th century, which was a time of global crisis.
Absolutely. You had the Reformation tearing the church apart, the Ottoman Empire pressing on the borders. So the Habsburg court tried to position itself as an oasis of universal wisdom amidst all that chaos.
And the physical manifestation of that wisdom was the Kunstkammer.
The archive of wisdom.
People often translate it as a cabinet of curiosities, but looking at the scale of it, archive wisdom seems much more accurate.
It was a microcosm of the world. The emperor wanted to possess literally everything, an encyclopedia of earthly existence.
What was actually in there?
You would walk in and find an Arcimboldo painting sitting right next to a giant ostrich egg,
Wow.
or a nautilus shell, rare coral, alchemical texts, and the latest scientific instruments.
And Arcimboldo wasn't just hanging out, he was the curator of this collection.
He was the curator and the buyer. He traveled around Europe acquiring antiquities and oddities for the emperor.
So his paintings were just another specimen in this collection of the world.
Yes, but there's a serious political angle here too. His paintings function as imperial propaganda.
Wait, how does a portrait with a zucchini for a nose help the emperor politically?
It's all about dominance. Take the portrait cycles of the 4 seasons and the 4 elements. The seasons represent time. The elements represent the material world. By owning these portraits, the emperor is symbolically claiming that he rules over nature itself.
Because if you own the elements, you control them.
Exactly. And in these paintings, natural enemies coexist in peace. Fire and water don't destroy each other. It symbolizes the emperor's ability to keep peace in a chaotic realm.
Look at the painting fire.
Right, it's composed of flames, candles, and lamps.
But if you look closely at the neck, it's made of the Order of the Golden Fleece.
The highest chivalric order. And there's a double-headed Habsburg eagle hidden right in the composition.
So it's explicitly saying the emperor controls the destructive power of fire.
Yes. And the ultimate expression of this power is the portrait of Rudolf II, titled Vertumnus.
This is the one where the emperor is made entirely of flowers, fruits, and vegetables.
To a modern eye, painting your boss as a pile of produce looks like mockery.
It's a high-wire act, for sure.
But Rudolf II loved it. It portrays him as the Roman god Vertumnus, the god of seasons and change. It says, I am not just a man. I am the source of all abundance. I am nature.
That's incredible. But not everyone got off so easy, did they? We have to talk about the serious jokes, the scarcity.
The bizarre, yes, because some of his portraits feel a lot sharper.
Let's look at the Librarian. This is a portrait of Wolfgang Lazius, the court historian.
He is constructed entirely out of books. An open book forms his hair, bookmarks are his fingers.
But his beard is made of feather dusters.
Right, and the eyes are keyholes. That is the sting of the intellectual rebus.
Is it an honor or a roast?
Exactly. Is Arcimboldo celebrating a man who wrote 50 volumes of history? Or is he mocking a bookworm who collects knowledge but just lets it gather dust?
Like, you have a library but a feather duster for a beard because you're just dusting them off for status.
It's a critique of materialist snobbery. Elite people who buy expensive books to look smart but don't actually read them.
And then there's the Jurist. A portrait of the Vice-Chancellor, Ulrich Zasius. This one feels genuinely mean.
It is aggressively ugly. The face is a roasted chicken.
The nose is the naked rump of a hatchling bird.
and the mouth is a fish.
Why go so dark on the vice-chancellor?
Scholars call this a caricature conceit. The fish mouth might represent slippery legal practices.
Makes sense.
The cooked meat could represent the gluttony of the court. But there is a brutal historical detail here.
What is it?
Zasius apparently suffered a severe facial disfigurement after falling from a carriage.
Oh, wow. So Arcimboldo painted his scarred face as a pile of cooked meat. That is incredibly dark.
It seems cruel to us, but that was the rule of the grilli. It allowed the court to process the ugliness of reality, like sickness or corruption, through the safety of a riddle.
It's a joke, but a grave one.
Right. It was a way to communicate social messages through bizarreness.
What strikes me, though, is that even when he's being satirical, the science is real. He's not just making up cartoon animal shapes.
No, and that is the scientific naturalism we see in all his work. This was the 16th century explosion of botany and zoology.
Didn't Emperor Maximilian II have the first elephant in Vienna?
He did. He had a massive zoo. So when Arcimboldo painted the element earth, which is composed entirely of animals, he wasn't guessing.
He was observing.
He was sketching real lions, boars, and elks directly from life in the court menagerie.
It's scientifically accurate surrealism. Which brings us to his artistic DNA. Because Arcimboldo didn't just appear out of nowhere, we have to talk about the shadow of Leonardo da Vinci.
You really can't understand Arcimboldo without Leonardo. Arcimboldo was trained in the Lombardian school. He was from Milan.
And his father worked at the Milan Duomo.
Where Leonardo had left a massive legacy.
Because Leonardo was famous for those grotesque heads, right? The test caricat.
The charged heads, studies of ugly, exaggerated facial features.
Those famous sketches of old people with hooked noses and jutting chins.
Exactly. Arcimboldo took that concept, the scientific study of physiognomy, and built it out of objects. But there is a key distinction between the two.
Which is?
Leonardo used the acastic method. He studied nature to reproduce it faithfully.
While Arcimboldo used the fantastic method.
Right. He studied nature to remix it. Leonardo is the scientist observing the world. Arcimboldo is the engineer hacking it to create a new reality.
And like Leonardo, Arcimboldo was a polyhedric artist.
Yes.
Many-sided.
Yes.
Before he was making fruit faces, he spent a decade, from 1549 to 1558, designing stained glass windows and tapestries for the Milan Cathedral.
He mastered monumental art forms. He wasn't a gimmick artist. He had serious classical training.
But at court, historians call him the invisible impresario.
Because for decades, his main job wasn't actually painting. He was basically the creative director for the Habsburgs.
Designing triumphal arches, costumes, weddings, and elaborate theatrical festivals.
He created entire immersive worlds for the emperor. But because that art was ephemeral, it happened and then it was gone, we've lost almost all of it.
He became invisible.
We are left with the paintings, which were really just a side project.
That is a shame. We can't see those festivals, but his legacy did eventually find a new audience, even though he was mostly forgotten after he died.
Oh, completely forgotten. The Baroque era came along and people wanted drama and emotion, not intellectual puzzles.
Though they just dismissed him as a bad joke.
He disappeared from art history for centuries until 1936.
Enter the Museum of Modern Art.
Alfred Barr, the legendary director of MoMA, mounted an exhibition called Fantastic Art Dada, Surrealism.
And he puts Arcimboldo in it.
Right there next to Salvador Dalí and Max Ernst.
So suddenly, he's not a Renaissance relic anymore. He's the grandfather of Surrealism.
The Surrealists saw a kindred spirit. They realized that Arcimboldo understood their core truth, that reality is just a construct.
You can melt it, rearrange it, or turn it upside down.
Exactly.
So if we step back and look at this whole journey, from the reversible vegetables to the Pythagorean music to the Imperial propaganda, what is the real takeaway here?
I think it comes right back to the grilli, the shackles of the mind. Arcimboldo proved that the world isn't fixed.
Reality is just a matter of arrangement.
Right. You take the most mundane thing in the world, a bowl of onions, and if you just shift your perspective, it becomes a person.
If you turn the painting upside down, the monster becomes a dinner plate.
You change your perspective, and the whole world transforms.
That is a powerful thought to leave on. What else in our own lives, in our modern world, transforms just by looking at it differently? That's something for you to think about.
Just be careful next time you are in the produce aisle. You never know who is looking back at you from the vegetable bin.
I will definitely keep that in mind. If you want to see these mind-bending images for yourself, especially Vertumnus and that savage portrait of the Librarian, do yourself a favor and look them up. The code is visible if you know where to look. Also, if you are enjoying this exploration into the hidden history of art, please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next discussion. Thanks for listening.